All right, Shabbos, say good morning or good night. First of all, I thank you to our breakfast sponsors, to thank Mr. Gertz for dedicating the breakfast, in honor of his Ishpacha, honor of the Kila, in honor of the Chavra of the Daf, to thank Yossi Kushner for dedicating the breakfast, in honor of Chalamayid, the Yamtiv, the Kila, the Chavra of the Daf, Yashikach. Also, I think the sponsorships are still open for tomorrow. Tomorrow's Tuesday, and Emir Tashem for Wednesday, Hoshana Rabbah. And a special thank you to Uncle Mike, who really was here earlier than the beginning of the first meeting. Prepare the breakfast, Yashikach to Ari for the coffee, for coordinating the logistics of the setup, the deconstruction of the room. We also thank Mr. Isaac Samuel for dedicating the shir, memory of his beloved wife, Esther Basra, the Pil Meir, Akoni Hogdan, and the merit of our Talmud Torah and Neshama will have an aliyah and a family in Nachama. So let's have a beautiful daf ahead of us today. We started the new parak Baruch Hashem yesterday, so we find ourselves in the first daf of the new parak, or the first full block, daf Pei 85. So we're picking up in Eretz Hashem on the second line from the top. So let's say fascinating and riveting shayla to begin our day. Ben listen to this. Can a son be the shaliach, be the agent of Beis Din, to either flog his father, literally to strike his father, or to curse his father? So both say, so Malchus will understand again. Remember again, if Beis Din would go and administer Malchus, so somebody has to actually administer those Malchus. So let's say the father is found guilty of some type of infraction. So the shayla is, could the son be the shaliach of Beis Din to go ahead and flog the father or not? Now we'll say, now where does klala, where does cursing come in? So again, Rashi points out over here that when they would go ahead and they would excommunicate someone, they would put them in shamta or nidui or chayrim, so that would often begin with a curse. There would be a klala that was administered. So the shayla is, could a son go ahead and administer that klala for his father? Could he give that klala to his father? So Amalei, so the Gemara says, listen to this. So the Gemara says, Amalei, va'achar mihitir. So both said, look what the Gemara says. The Gemara says you're asking the shayla like it's a din in a son doing these things to his father. Both say it's important halacha to know. You're not allowed to curse any Jew. You're also not allowed to hit any other Jew. Now, obviously, I will say, so how is it that under normal circumstances? So let's say Reuven's chayiv Malchus. Beis Din says, Silber, you go ahead and you administer the Malchus to Reuven. How am I allowed to do that? Right? Or I say Beis Din says Reuven gets a klala. Silber, you give the klala. How am I allowed to do that? So what do you see from here? You see from here that under normal circumstances, the reason we allow one to administer lashes to a fellow Jew or to curse another Jew is what we call kvod shamayim, meaning again I'm acting on behalf of Beis Din. I'm administering this punishment because obviously this person is in violation of the laws of the Torah. The administering of the punishment is in and of itself a kavod to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The kavod to the Ribono Shel Olam outweighs the kavod to the individual. Therefore, you're allowed to flog, you're allowed to curse. So the Pashtus, the Gemara says, even though I have an obligation to honor and respect my father, guess what? Who do I have an obligation to honor and respect more? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Therefore, again, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu demands that this individual, happens to be my father, be flogged or be cursed, I should be able to carry that out. May say the Gemara is the kasha. Uma misha mitzvah lakoso mitzvah shalakoso. So we'll say Gemara is going to quote a brisa that at first glance wasn't. Everyone, this. So the Gemara is going to go ahead. See, you're Makabel to Columbus, mostly. I'm sure. So, Yaakov, you did a good job. You got on the big sauce for that. You were part of that guilt trip. So the Gemara says, so we'll see. Now Gemara is going to quote a brisa. The brisa at first glance is going to be a bit ununderstandable, so we're gonna clarify it in just a little bit. So the Gemara says, Meisvei. The Gemara raises the kasha. With someone with whom you have an obligation to hit them, to strike them, meaning Malchus. So yet again, there's a mitzvah not to hit them. So someone you don't have a mitzvah to hit. It goes all the more so that you shouldn't. That there's a mitzvah not to hit them. So what are we talking about over here? My love, mitzvah. So we'll say. So the Gemara says, well, what's that? Now here's what we know. Even though we don't yet understand exactly what the brisa is talking about, it's clear that the brisa has two cases. The first case of the brisa seems to be someone who seems to be talking about a case of someone who's mitzvah lakoso. There's a mitzvah to hit him. Second part of the price system has someone whom there is not a mitzvah to hit them. So the Gemara says, who are we talking about over here? My love, are we not talking about in both cases where there is a mitzvah to flog this particular individual? So we'll say, so why the distinction? Habib no, haba achar. So we'll say when the Mishnah says, when the first part of the Brisa speaks about the idea that even though it's a mitzvah to hit him, you shouldn't hit him too much. That's talking about stam an individual. So the Mishnah, the Brisa is therefore teaching me that what? That halacha l'maisa, again, even when I have to flog someone, I have to make sure what? Not to flog them any additional lashes. I was also said we've learned this before, and we'll see this again much more in Maseches Makos, that before Beis Din would administer lashes, they had a court doctor. The court doctor's job was to go ahead and assess how much the individual could take. And halacha is that you're not supposed to go ahead and administer any additional lashes. So the Pashtos, the first part of the Brisa is talking about beno. Second part of the Brisa is talking about acher, to which the Gemara says lo, the Gemara says lo, Idi loshna beno, veloshna acher. So the Gemara says no, it's not true. The Brisa both say is not making a distinction between when the individual being flogged is my father or is another individual. Velo kasha. So how do we understand the two parts of the Brisa? Kan b'makom mitzvah, kan shelo b'makom mitzvah. So we'll say, what's the distinction? The distinction is one is talking about a makom mitzvah and one is not talking about a makom mitzvah. What does that mean? V'alchi katani umma b'makom mitzvah shemitzuva lahakoso mitzvah shelo lahakoso. We'll say in the case of makom mitzvah, what does that mean? When let's say Beis Din has assessed that there's a mitzvah to go ahead and flog the individual, yet mitzvah shelo lahakoso, there's an obligation. What does mitzvah shelo lahakoso? There's a mitzvah not to flog him any additional times. In other words, you flog him in accordance with the number of lashes that Beis Din administers, but you can't administer any additional lashes. Shelo b'makom mitzvah. I both say in a case of where ultimately, again, there is not a mitzvah to flog the individual, meaning again, just stop hitting him. Sheino mitzvah lahakoso. Eino din shemitzvah shelo lahakoso. So what the Brisa is saying is like this, is that even in a case where there is a mitzvah to flog the individual, you're only permitted to flog him in accordance with the number of lashes as determined by Beis Din, and no more, than all the more so when there is not a license to flog or to hit someone, that you certainly cannot hit them any more than the prescribed number of times. Now, both say, in a case where there's no mitzvah to give someone lashes, what does it mean that you can't hit them any more than the prescribed number of times? Which means what? You can't hit them at all. So what the Gemara, according to the Gemara's understanding, what the Brisa is teaching is the following: if in a case where a person deserves the lashes, the halacha tells you you can administer to them a certain number of lashes and no more, then what? All the more so when someone is not deserving of being lashed or being hit or being harmed at all, then al achas kama v'kama, you cannot raise a hand towards them at all. So Gemara says Tashma. So we'll say, so just to point out, that's nice. Again, important halacha, but still hasn't resolved our ikr question, which is, can a son be the shaliach of Beis Din to administer lashes to his father? I'm going to say, remember, that's our fundamental shaila. So we have an answer for you. Tashma. So Mar goes weiter. Now remember again, so far the only thing we have, Rabbi say, is that Rav Sheshes said that yes, Rav Sheshes is on the record as saying yes, and what's Rav Sheshes' logic? Kvod shamayim adif. The argument against me administering lashes to my father would be what, Rabbi say? Would be what? Right? It's lack of kibbud av, right? So Rav Sheshes counted. Rav Sheshes says no. Kavod Shemaim Odif, that when there's a discussion between honor to my father or honor to God wins out. Therefore, Rav Sheshes is on record as saying a son could act as the shaliach of Beis Din to flog his father. That's what we're holding right now. Tashma. Gemara goes weiter. Let's listen to this case. Hayotzev leharik. So a person is being led out to be executed, and what happens? Uba benovi kol v'kilo chayiv. Supposed to listen to this. We'll call him Yaakov. Avram is being led out to be executed. And what happens? His son Yitzchak comes along and hits him and curses him. So I will say, what's the halacha? Chayiv. Yitzchak is chayiv for cursing and hitting his father. Ba'achar v'ikav v'kilolo. Yet if someone else came along, meaning someone who wasn't related to Avram, not Avram's son, comes along and hits him and curses him, pater, he's ultimately potter. We ask, I don't understand, why is halacha different if Yitzchak, his son, did it versus if someone else did it? So the Gemara says, oh, we'll say, what's the case over here? Avram, the person who's going to be executed, is supposed to be let out to be executed. And what happens? They're telling him it's time to go. And what is Avram saying? Misarvin. I'm saying, no, I'm not going. He's refusing. So we'll say, so watch this, says the Gemara. So therefore, Amram, because the Misarvin Bolot is Ve'enu Yotze. So we'll say what it sounds like over here is the following. Look at Rashi for just a moment. It's right across Rashi. Ve'enu Yotze. Vashmonion. So we'll say, what the Bryce is now saying is the following, which is, Avram is supposed to be executed. Then what happens? Not surprisingly, they tell him it's time to go out, and he says, no. He says, no, I'm not going. So we'll say, so now what's the halacha? The halacha is based and forces him. So what the Bryce seems to be teaching me is the following. Someone's going to have to come along and beat him up and curse him, but who shouldn't it be? It shouldn't be his son. So and if it is his son is chayiv ultimately again for hitting his father and for cursing him. If someone else does it, it's totally fine. So what do you see from here? You see from here what Rabbi saying that a son cannot be the agent of Beis Din to hit or to curse his father. So this contradicts Rav Sheshes, because Rav Sheshes said that a son can do this, to which the Gemara says, Rav Sheshes mukila b'she'in ma'asar b'balote. So we'll say the way Rav Sheshes would set up this price is talking about a case where yes, Avram is supposed to be executed and he's not refusing to be let out. So therefore, again, meaning he's not refusing to be led out to his execution. Well, if that's the case, says the Gemara, Ihachi achar nami. So the Gemara says, I don't understand. So Rav Sheshes is setting up the brayso that Avram is supposed to be executed. Now, what does the brayso tell me? If Avram's son Yitzchak comes and hits him and curses him, then Yitzchak is going to be chayiv for cursing and hitting his father. But if someone else comes along and hits and curses Avram, then they'll be potter. But I don't understand. If Avram's not refusing to be let out to be executed, then what Rabbi saying? Then why would someone else be permitted to hit and to curse Avram? And if they did hit and curse Avram, then what? They should be chayiv as well. To which the rest supposed to listen to this. Iachi achar nami, achar gavra ketilu. So the Gemara says, here's the difference. The difference is Rabbi saying that vis-a-vis someone else other than Yitzchak, Avram is considered to be like what? A dead man already. Which was, we've seen this concept already, that once a person has been sentenced by Beis Din to death, it's as if he is already dead. As such, when someone else comes along and hits and curses Avram, then what? It's as if he's hitting and cursing a dead man, in which case there's no liability. But apparently, when it comes to his son, when it comes to Yitzchak, even though Avram already has been sentenced to death, Lagabe, his son is considered to be alive, and therefore if his son hits him or curses him, the son's going to be chayiv. One second, Amar Rav Sheshes, Baisho Yoshem Umeis chayiv. Rabbi say, listen to this. But yet we learn about this is actually a very interesting halacha. Let's say, different case, Ruvain is sleeping, and I go ahead and I embarrass Ruvain in his sleep. I paint the clown face on whatever it is. That doesn't mean I do something about say that remember again, embarrassment. Busha is one of the categories of damages. So I do something to Ruvain while he's asleep that embarrasses him. Now, here's the chap. Ruvain dies in his sleep. Now today they would he died from the emotional damage inflicted, from the busha. When he was asleep, a person is conscious. No, he just died. He had a heart attack in his sleep. So what's the chap over here? The chap over here is he was never aware of the busha, of the embarrassment I visited upon him. But who was aware? His children were aware, his mishpacha was aware. So they both say the halacha it's actually an interesting halacha. If you embarrass someone in their sleep and they die, so meaning they die in their sleep, so they never are even aware of the busha, you're still chayiv to pay busha damages to their offspring. So the Gemara says, so we'll say, what do you see from here? You see from, so why is the Gemara bringing down this case? The Gemara is suggesting that this case of embarrassing someone in their sleep should be the equivalent of what? Hitting someone who has a death sentence on them. In other words, hitting someone who has a death sentence on them, the Gemara posits is like hitting a dead person. Okay, but the same way that if you embarrass a sleeping person, in other words, embarrassing a sleeping person should be the equivalent of hitting a dead person. And yet we see that's what? Embarrassing a sleeping person, you're chayiv for. So too what? Hitting a dead person, quote unquote, you should also be chayiv for. To which the Gemara is asking, what's the case? Oh, we'll say, what's the case? The case is where the guy who came over and hit hit Avram, who is the individual death sentence on his head. He injured him in a way where there was not a Shabbat Pruta. I will say, what's the halacha if you injure someone in a way where there's not a Shabbat Pruta? So there's no financial liability. So the Gemara says, I v'hamar Rabbi Ami Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Hiko haka shemo Shabbat Pruta loke. Yeah, Rabbi said we learned that even if you hit someone in a way where the injury does not cause, it's not a Shabbat Pruta worth of injury, but you still hit them, you're still going to get Malchus. So the Gemara says, my pater de kamar, pater mi mamon. So what's the inachnami? What does it mean when we say pater? Pater means pater mi mamon. Not necessarily pater mi Malchus. You might still get Malchus, but you're going to pater mi mamon. Michlal dibeno chay b'mamon. And we'll say what we can infer from that is it's only an acher, it's only someone else, i.e. a non-son, who is pater from Malchus. It is only an acher who is pater from mamon. When the chabura is not a Shabbat Pruta, but apparently a son would still be chayiv. Ella bidino. Rather, the Gemara says you're right. What it means when the Brisa says pater, it means pater bidino. Hachanami bidino. So we'll say the idea when we say pater is einachinami, you would be pater from whatever the relative halacha would be. Look at Rashi for just a moment. Rashi says over here, hachanami, the tani gabi achar pater bidino ka'amar omimalkos pater le vakati maishna. Fine, says the Gemara, Ella bidino, hachanami bidino, Ella achar hainu tami de pater. Supposed to listen to this. Let's jump back for just a moment. So now we're trying to figure out, we have a very specific case. Avram has been sentenced to death. He's supposed to be let out to be executed. So what did the Brisa say? If the son, if we'll call him Yitzchak, either curses or hits his father, the son will be chayiv. But if someone else curses or hits Avraham, he'll be pater. So the Gemara says again. So why the distinction? So the Gemara says, because the pasuk says that a prince among your people you shall not curse, and we learn out from there the following. Rabbi said the only time you are chayiv for cursing someone is when they fit into the category of amcha. But if someone does not fit into the category of amcha, then there is no liability for cursing them. So Rabbi said the assumption is if someone is about to be executed, then what? He does not fall into the category of amcha, right? You're not put to death for speaking during chazaras hashatz, right? In other words, you're put to death for some serious. Again, you should know, just as an aside, Shulchan Aruch happens to say that for a person who speaks during chazaras hashatz, gadol avono minso, his sin is too great to bear. That's not like Shari Tshuva or Mesilas Yesharim. Right? That's the Shulchan Aruch. Right? But the idea is not put to death. That's the Gemara says over here. A person who is put to death is no longer in the category of Amcha. See, what the Gemara is picking up on is the following. The pasuk says, "V'nasi ba'amcha lo sar." A prince within your nation you shall not curse. He could have just said Nasi lo sar. Why ba'amcha? To teach you that you're only chayiv for cursing someone who lives within the framework of Klal Yisrael. But someone who is living outside of the confines of the law, you are not chayiv ultimately for cursing them. Hatinach klala. So I understand then, if someone comes along and comes up to Avram, who's about to be executed, and curses him, you're not going to be chayiv. Hakla minalan. I will say, but again, if somebody strikes Avraham, why would it not be chayiv? The makshin hakla klala. Because I will say, again, in many different places, we compare hakla hitting to cursing. And therefore, again, if Avram, who is outside of the framework of Amcha, you will not be chayiv for cursing him. You will also not be chayiv for hitting him. Well, if that's the case, we'll say if that's the case, then why does that just apply to Acher? Why doesn't that apply to Beno also? In other words, even if Yitzchak, Avram's son, comes along and curses his father or hits his father, he also should be pater. Why? Because the father is living outside of the confines of Amcha. To which the Gemara says, Yachibinonami, Kedamarat Pinchas, Bisha'asa Tshuva. I will say, what's the case over here? The case over here is where Avram did Tshuva. I will say, even though Avram is about to be let out to be executed, he became about Tshuva. And I will say, remember again, we saw this earlier. We saw this that as they were leading someone to be executed, what would Beis Din say to the individual? Asay Tshuva. Chazor b'cha. Right to Tshuva. In other words, remember again, we'll say the beauty in Yiddishkeit is that even our punishments are rehabilitative and cathartic. You're about to be executed. This execution is part of your tshuva process. Do tshuva. So we'll say the case over here is where Avram, who's being let out to be executed, did tshuva. If he did tshuva, then what? Then he's back in Amcha. If he's back in Amcha, then what? You can't hit him and you can't curse him. But if he did tshuva, how can I b'shas a tshuva? But one second. So we'll say now the Gemara is suggesting the reason the son can't curse, the reason why Yitzchak the son can't curse or hit Avram is why he did tshuva. But 1 second. If he did tshuva, then what? If that's the case that Avram did tshuva, we'll say then again everyone should be prohibited from hitting and cursing him. Amrav Mari ba'amcha b'mekoyim sheva'amcha. So we'll say Rav Mari says no. Amcha doesn't just mean someone who is living within the laws of your people, but rather it means someone who's going to be living within Klal Yisrael, or someone who's going to live. This individual, means he has a lifespan within Klal Yisrael. This individual does not have a lifespan within Klal Yisrael. How do we know that? He's being let out to be executed. If that's the case, then why would the son be liable? Then the son also should not be liable ultimately again for hitting or for cursing his father. So we'll say, here's the difference. We're going to see later on that a son is chayiv for cursing his father even after the father is dead. So we'll say, when it comes to a son, at the end of the day, essentially, there is no permitted way for him to hit or to curse his father. He will be chayiv, because he will say again, and we'll see this in the next Mishnah, if a son is going to be chayiv for cursing his father even after the death of his father, so even if the father is, dead man walking, mamish, he's sentenced to death, he's being taken out to be executed, the son still has liability for that. To which I will say, the Gemara says, "My havi Allah." So we'll say, it's always interesting. I sometimes imagine to myself, that because these conversations actually took place in the Beis Medrash. So everything began with a very simple question. In the Beis Medrash, they posed the kasha to Rav Sheshes, which is, does a son have the ability to act in the capacity of a shliach beis din to go ahead and flog or curse his father? That was the shaila. I will say, what happened? So as you can see, it got away from us a little bit, right? See, almost like you could see, like somebody gets up in the Beis Medrash and say, let's get back on track over here. By the way, what's the answer to the question? Right? Let's refocus a little bit, reframe the conversation. What is the answer to the question? Meaning, can a son act as a shliach beis din or not? To which the Gemara says, we'll say second line, I'm going to pay him a days. The Chintana debate Rabbi Shmuel. We'll say third line, pay him a days. Lakol ein haben naas shliach la'aviv lakoso ulekalalo. We'll say bottom line halach l'maisa Gemara Paskins. They said in the name of Tana debate Rabbi Shmuel, a son cannot act in the capacity of a shliach beis din to hit or to curse his father. Now we'll say understand the novelty in this. Even though we say Kvod Shemayim Adif, we'll say again, we know that we accept, I want to point out, we accept Rav Shesh's principle, which is about say that when there is a conflict between honor to God and honor to parent, who wins out? Honor to God. We know that. My father says to me, Machal Shabbos, I say no. I'm your father. I say, no, you're my father. The Devotion was also my father. And when there's a conflict between what you tell me and what he tells me, I have to listen to him. I have to listen to Kadosh Baruch Hu. So the Gemara says over here, here's the difference. The difference is here, there's no conflict. Why? What do we say? What do we say to Beis Din? Find someone else. Again, I don't have to be the one who does this. Find someone else to do this. There is no need for me to actively disrespect my father by flogging him or by cursing him, even though he deserves it, even though it's a warranted mandated punishment. I'm not going to be the one who carries it out, with one interesting exception. Chutz mimesis. I will say, what's the one exception to this rule? If chas v'shalom, my father was found guilty of what? Inciting others to worship avodah zarah. So I will say, if my father chas v'shalom was a mesis and he got others to do avodah zarah, then what? Then I am permitted to go ahead and be the shaliach beis din, to go ahead and flog him or curse him, whatever it is. Why? Shahari amra Torah lo sachmo lo sechasal. When it comes to avodah zarah, essentially what the Gemara is saying over here is that all bets are off. So, and this is not just stam avodah zarah. This is a mesis. So we'll say from the Torah's perspective, the worst infraction is the mesis. What I was saying, if you want to go sin, then what? Hey, go. The Gemara says, we saw this Gemara. The Gemara talks about the idea that sometimes a person can't fight the Yetzer Hara. So what do you do if you can't fight the Yetzer Hara? Remember what the Gemara says? What do you do? Yilbash Shchorim. Go to some place where no one knows you, right? Put on black clothing. In other words, hide yourself and do what you have to do. If you feel you can't overcome your Yetzer Hara, well, what's the idea? The idea is go somewhere else, change your clothing. In other words, minimize the ripple effects and the collateral damage on others. Because when I sin, there's a ripple effect. When I sin, it has an impact on other people. So if you can't fight the Yetzer Hara, go somewhere where no one knows you, no one recognizes you, change your clothing and minimize the damage. See, what's the worst infraction? The worst infraction is when you're going down, you're going to take other people down with you. That, the Ribono Shel Olam says, is an unforgivable offense. You want to sin, fine. You can't control yourself, fine. That's between you and God. But to take others down with you is an unforgivable offense. Therefore, I'm going to say the case of Mesis, which is someone who entices others to worship Avodah Zarah as well. The Torah says, Lo Sachmo, do not have any compassion upon this individual, even if he's who? Even if he's your father. Shall I say, so bottom line halacha l'maisa is that we say a son should not be the shaliach bezdin to flog his father, to curse his father, with the one exception, which is if chas v'shalom the father is a mesis, then the son has the right to act as the shaliach bezdin. Good. Says the Mishnah, if one strikes his, so remember, last Mishnah we established that one is chayiv misa if one strikes his father or his mother. Now the Mishnah tells me I'm only chayiv if I cause an injury that is a shava pruta. Or excuse me, I take that back. I'm only chayiv if I cause an injury. So if a person just stam hits their parent, but there's no chabura, so we'll see chabura means either an internal or external injury. Zeh chomer. Mi b'makala mi b'makeh shamakala la'achar misa chayiv b'makeh la'achar misa pater. So we'll say the Mishnah just says this is one of the stringencies. If you curse your parent even after death, you're chayiv for cursing your parent. But if you hit your parent after death, you are not chayiv. So we'll say, and this goes hand in hand. This is a flow from the first statement. I'm only chayiv for hitting my parent if it causes a chabura. So we'll say, therefore, the understanding is, if you hit someone after death, it does not what? It doesn't cause a chabura. Therefore, I'm not chayiv for beating up the corpse of my parent. But when it comes to makala, when it comes to cursing, I am chayiv for cursing my parent even after death. Says the Gemara Tan Rabbanon, Aviv v'imo kilel, Aviv v'imo kilel, la'achar misa. So we'll say the halach. So pasuk says, remember, quoting over here the pasuk, Ish ki yekala, ish asher yekala es aviv ve'es imo. So the Gemara understands that I'm chayiv even la'achar misa. I'm chayiv even for cursing my parent even after their death. Sheyachol hoil v'chayiv b'makeh v'chayiv b'makala. Because it will say, since we see a connection between striking my parent and cursing my parent, ma mak eno chayiv ela mechayim. So we'll say, I would have said, just like for hitting a parent, one is only chayiv if the parent is alive. So too by makalo, I might have thought that one is only chayiv for cursing a living parent. V'od kal v'chomer. Furthermore, there's a kal v'chomer. What's the kal v'chomer? Uma makeh she'asa bo shelo ba'amcha ki ba'amcha. So when it comes to makeh, so I'm chayiv for hitting a parent, whether they're ba'amcha and lo ba'amcha. So what does that mean? That when it comes to hitting a parent, whether my parent is within the framework of amcha, in other words, that they behave like a Jew, they practice like a Jew, they love like a Jew, they live like a Jew, it doesn't make a difference. In other words, I'm chayiv for hitting my parent, no matter what the religious reality of that parent's life may be. Yet again, lo chayiv ola achar misa. Yet I'm not chayiv for striking a parent after they're dead. Mekalo shelo asav o shelo ba'amcha kibachar. Rabbi said we saw in the previous sugya that for cursing a parent, I'm only chayiv for cursing a parent if what? If they live ba'amcha. If they live a life within the established framework of Yiddishkeit. But if they do not live a life within the established framework of Yiddishkeit, I'm not chayiv for cursing them. I might have thought that what? The more so I should not be chayiv for cursing a parent after death. Talmud Lomar, Avif v'imo kilo, la'achamisa. Therefore, both say the Gemara says no. The drasha says that you're chayiv for cursing your mother and father at all times, even what? Even after their death. Hanichal Rabbi Yonasan dimi aiser leikra aviv imo. So both say that makes it clear to Rabbi Yonasan, because as we're going to see in just a moment, Rabbi Yonasan doesn't darshan that phrase for anything else. Therefore, the phrase of aviv imo is an extra one for him, and because it's extra, therefore what? He can darshan it for this purpose, to teach me that I'm chayiv for cursing my parents even after their death. El Rabbi Yoshia, my ikal nema. But Rabbi Yoshia, what is there to say? This sign, what does Rabbi Yoshia say? And here we go. The sign, ish ish. The pasuk says, ish ish asher yikalis aviv imo. Ma kamalomar ish ish. Why does the pasuk have to say ish ish, every man? Why not just say man? So listen to this. Lerabos bas tumtum va'androgynous. Oh, listen to this. It comes to include the daughter. Now, by the way, daughter means child of. A tumtum and an androgynous. I was going to say, I might have had a havamina. That's what. Then maybe if the gender of my parent is not known, perhaps I'm not chayiv for cursing them. In other words, we'll say there's a havamina that says the following: that maybe the halacha is like this. Maybe the halacha is that it's only if my parent is definitively what? Aviv o imo. But if I don't know the gender of the parent, maybe again I'm not chayiv. Therefore, again, ish comes each, either if the parent is a tumtum or androgynous, I'm still chayiv. This wouldn't work with mother, but it would work with father. In other words, let's say again, the gender of the parent is not known. So the Gemara says, or remember again, tumtum androgynous could have both sets of organs. So it's not clear halachically what their definition is. Asher yekala les aviv esimo, imi ela aviv imo, aviv shelo imo shelo aviv minayin. We'll say furthermore again, the way the pasuk reads of aviv imo, it could sound like what? You only chayiv when I was saying if you curse both your mother and your father. How do I know that even if I don't curse both my mother and my father, I only curse one of them, that I'm going to be chayiv as well? Talmud lomar aviv v'imo kilo, aviv kilo, imo kilo, div Rabbi Yosha. So both say Rabbi Yosha uses that phrase of aviv v'imo kilo to teach me what? Aviv o imo. See, the havamina is that maybe I'm only chayiv if I curse both my father and my mother together. Kamash lo, that even if I curse them independently, I'm still going to be chayiv as well. Rabbi Yonasan says, Mashma shnein ke'echad u'mashma echad ve'echad bifnei atzmo. Rabbi Yonasan says no. Aviv and imo doesn't mean aviv and imo together. Aviv and imo could mean aviv and imo together. It could also mean aviv and imo independently. Ad sheyifrot l'cha kasav yachtav. So we'll say the only time we would say that ultimately, the only time we would say that the Torah is telling me that you'd only be chayiv if you curse your mother and father together would be if the Torah actually tells you that. So the Gemara says, Minale. So the Gemara says, Nafkale mei umekalel aviv v'imo mos yumas. He learns that we'll say ultimately again from the pasuk of mekalel aviv v'imo mos yumas. The other opinion would say, bas tumtum va'androgynous. But the other opinion says, no, we use that phrase to teach me that even the child of a tumtum and androgynous is chai for cursing his or her parent. But say first wide line, mi ish ish, learn eltrum ish ish, dibratar klashom ane adam. To which the Gemara says, no, but say according to this opinion, we don't darshan. That's why, because he holds that ish isha will say is just the regular terminology that the Torah uses. But listening, chomer b'makeh mi b'mekalam. But why don't you bring down the following idea that there's a chumrah that hitting has over cursing? How so? Was a second one line payam days. Shamakeh asa bo shelo ba'amcha ki ba'amcha. But when it comes to hitting, one is chayiv for hitting a parent, whether they are in amcha or not in amcha. Masha'enki b'mekalam. Both say we saw by mekalam. You're only chayiv for cursing which parent? A parent who lives in the confines of amcha. But a parent who lives outside of the confines of a normative Judaic existence, one would not be chayiv for cursing them. Kasavar makshinan hakah leklala. Because we'll say this opinion holds that we go in and we equate, we compare hakah to klala. And just like hakah, you're chayiv for hitting a parent, whether they're amcha or outside of amcha, so to klala as well. Leima hanitanoi kahanitanoi. Suppose I say that these tanam are like these tanam household. The tani chada. We'll say listen to this. Kusin atamatzuva hakah. Listen to this. This price says a kusi. A kusi. Now, we will discuss the kusi in just a moment. A kusi, you're chayiv for hitting him, but you're not chayiv for cursing him. The Tanya, you have another brayso that says, you're not chayiv for cursing him, and you're not chayiv for hitting him. Savrua, so we'll say, what's the logic? How do we reconcile these braysos? Savrua dekoli ama kusi gere emesein. So we'll say it must be that everyone agrees that what? Kusim are legitimate gerim. The other trouble, so remember again, who are the kusim? Who are the kusim? They're people from the country of Kusa, who were resettled in Eretz Yisrael by Shalmaneser, the king of Ashur. Shalmaneser, the way after he conquered nations, he uprooted them from their indigenous land and resettled them somewhere else. When the Kusim came to Eretz Yisrael, they were worshiping idolatry. There was an outbreak of lions that were devouring them. The Kusim realized that this outbreak of lions was because of their avodah zarah, and as such, they began to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The shaila is, was their conversion legitimate or not? So the Gemara says everyone agrees that Kusim Geri Emesheim, my love Hakamifligi. What are they not arguing about? Or what are they not arguing about? The following point: the Mar Savar Makshin Hakal Klala, Umar Savar Lo Makshin Hakal Klala. Therefore, I will say what? What the argument is: do we compare hitting to cursing or not? One brayso said one opinion, and one brayso says yes. One opinion, one brayso says no. Which Gemara says low. It's actually not true. Everyone agrees that we do not compare Hakal to Klala. Is arguing about over here. Mar Savar Kusim Gere Emesheim, Umar Savar Kusim Gere Arayosein. So we'll say one opinion holds that Kusim are Gere Emes. They're legitimate converts. If they're legitimate converts, then what? Then you are going to be chayiv for hitting and cursing them. One says they are illegitimate converts, i.e. they're not Jewish. If they're not Jewish, then what? Then you will not be chayiv for hitting and cursing them. To which the Gemara says, Mar Savar Kusim Gere Arayosein, Mar Savar Kusim Gere Ihachi, Haimu Diktani Allah. We'll say if that's the case, then it makes sense what we saw in another brayso. Vishoro ki Yisrael. That ultimately, again, that the shore of a kusi would be like the shore of the Yisrael. Which makes sense if what I will say. If you hold that kusim gere emesheim, then they're regular ger, which means we would treat their shore just like we would treat the shore of Yisrael. Ella shmamina be'kesha pligi shmamina. But say rather, what do you see from here? You see the machlokes ultimately is: do we compare Hakah to Klala or not? That's the fundamental shaila. Do we say that just like Hakah applies ultimately, do we say that just like Klala only applies to Ba'amcha and not Lo Ba'amcha, so to Hakah only applies Ba'amcha and not Lo Ba'amcha? So we'll say that is the fundamental machlokes. Fine. So we'll say, so bottom line, by the way, our takeaway from this is that halacha l'maisa again, one is chayiv for hitting a parent if the injury causes a chabura, internal or external. One is only chayiv for hitting a parent when they're alive. One is not chayiv for hitting a parent once they are dead. The logic of what's behind that is because when you hit a dead person, you don't cause a chabura. I'm only chayiv for hitting my parents when I cause a chabura. Next, what about makala? The makala is different because l'maisa again, if one curses, that one is chayiv for cursing their parent, both when the parent is alive as well as even after the parent has died. Incredible idea. Was that you're chayiv for cursing a parent even after the parent has died. Mishnah, I should go a little bit weiter. Hagoniv nefesh miyisrael. We'll say next case, one kidnaps someone. Goniv nefesh miyisrael. So a person goes in and kidnaps a Jew. Eino chayiv ad she'achnis another reshuso. You're always like, now here's what's interesting. You're only chayiv if you kidnap the person and bring them into your reshus. So it's actually quite interesting. We saw this again earlier when it came to the laws of theft. When it comes to the laws of theft, you're only chayiv if what? If there's a shinoi reshus, if there's a change of domain. So when you kidnap someone, you're only chayiv if you bring them into your domain. Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda says, no, in order to be chayiv for kidnapping, you need two things. Number one, to bring the person into your reshus, and what? You have to use them. In other words, you have to use them. You have to actually work them. Shneimar bisamer bo umachro. Hagoni vespino, if one kidnaps his own son, Rabbi Shmuel says you're chayiv. The Chum Poch and the Chum say you're pater. We'll discuss what the nature of this machlokes is. Ganav, if you kidnap someone who is partly slave, partly emancipated, Rabbi Yehuda says you're chayiv. The Chum Poch and the Chum say you're pater. Fine. Says the Tanakama lo bayner. So we'll say Gemara is not focusing on the first machlokes. The first machlokes the Mishnah was the following: the Tanakama said that in order to be chayiv for kidnapping someone, what has to happen? You have to bring them into your reshus. Comes along Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says It's not enough to bring them into your rishus, but you have to what? You have to use them. So the Gemara says, is that to say that according to the Tanakama, you could be chayiv for kidnapping without using the individual? So both said, here's the problem. The problem is the pasuk explicitly says, "Gonev ishu." The pasuk explicitly says, "Ki yimatzei ish gonev nefesh me'achav mibnei Yisrael v'hisamer bo." Hisamer means that what? You used or you worked the individual. So it seems to be that mid the oraisa, you're only chayiv for kidnapping when you do two things, i.e., you take the person into your domain and you actively use them. So how could the Tanakama say that by just bringing them into your rishus without using them, you'd be chayiv? To which the Tanakama lo boim, Amar Chiya, Amar Rav Acha, B'rei Rava, Imar Pachos Mishaveh Pruta Ikebenayu. But say ultimately, again, the fundamental machlokes will be what happens if you kidnap someone and you work them, but you work them for less than a Shaveh Pruta. So that seems to be the machlokes ultimately again between the Tanakama and between Rabbi Yehuda. So we'll say ultimately again, it would seem to be that the Tanakama would hold that you're chayiv even if you work them less than a Shaveh Pruta, whereas Rabbi Yehuda would say that in order to be chayiv you have to work them at least a Shaveh Pruta. We'll just do one more line. Ganva umachra yashen mahu. We'll say listen to this case. Let's say you steal someone, and you kidnap someone and you sell them, but they're asleep. Some people are deep sleepers, right? Some you kidnap them and you sell them and they sleep through the entire thing. Are you chayiv for that? Or machar isha leubra. Or they will say you kidnap a pregnant woman, and they will say what? But you're not kidnapping her for her. You're kidnapping her because you're selling her fetus. You're selling her unborn child. Mahu yesh derech imor bekach o in derech imor bekach. The boss says, is this called, in other words, now that we've established that it's not just enough to kidnap the person, but you have to work them as well, is this called ultimately working? Because remember again, the kid, in first case, the person who's kidnapped is sleeping. In the second case, I don't really need the woman, I want the baby. So is this called derech imor or not? The seifuch the leka imor klal. So we'll say, I don't understand. What's the shiloh over here? You're not working the individuals at all in this case. There is no working of the individual in case. To which the Gemara says, no. Lo tzricha yashen dizaga ale. We'll say, I am working the individual. Why? Because in the case where I'm kidnapping a person who's sleeping, we'll say, what am I doing? Dizaga ale. Zaga ale, we'll say, means Rashi says, the samach Allah. I'm leaning on him. I'm using him as a support. So I am using him for my benefit. Now it just happens to be that's what? He's sleeping. See, he doesn't know, but I happen to be leaning on him, using him. And Isha, listen to this. Isha du'ukma ba'apri zeka. So we'll say, with the pregnant woman, I'm taking advantage of her newfound pregnant width. And what am I doing? There's a strong wind. I'm standing her in front of me and taking shelter behind her. So we'll say in both of these cases, I'm using these individuals, right? So I'm leaning on the sleeping guy and I'm shielding myself behind the pregnant woman. So we'll say, but again, interestingly enough, in these cases, so is this called kidnapping and usage or not? So derech imor bekach, we'll say, is this called a normative form of usage of the kidnapped individual or not? Or in derech imor bekach, what's the halacha? Says the Gemara, teiku. Right, we'll stop over here for today. We'll pick up with more kidnapping cases.